It says that we are live.
Hey.
Hello, hello. And it should allow me to get viewer counts and everything while we are here as well. So I'm going to hop right in. We're going to get started because I'm so excited for today. Hello, everyone, all current and future hackers. Thank you all for joining today. As you know, this is the 5 Minute Career Hack. We're no fluff, all action. So we are going to dig right in with today's topic in this live. I know this is my first live on YouTube and Instagram, and it may be for the phenomenal woman who I'll introduce in a second. But I am Candyce, the co founder and pivot master at 5 Minute Career Hack, where our mission is to guide you through that necessary pivot in your career, your company, and your confidence. And as an advocate for personal and professional development, I serve as a seasoned career wellness strategist, a professional speaker, and one of the hosts of the 5 Minute Career Hack podcast. And recently, I interviewed our guest for a episode from our special series here at the 5 Minute Career Hack. And guys, the conversation was so good. It was supposed to be 25 minutes, but we enjoyed each other so much. And we're definitely doing a part two, so stay tuned for that. But I could not miss an opportunity to bring her on today so we could keep the party going. So while I introduce the phenomenal Miss Shakira, if you're live with us today in the chat, put a wave your hand in the chat. Let us know that you're here. But I'm introducing Shakira Hemphill. She's a sought-after author, certified life coach, and transformational leader that is passionate about helping individuals conquer burnout and embrace infinite possibilities. Her insights are pure gold. I should have said platinum. I wrote gold. They are
Oh,
pure platinum. And today my goal is to extract at least one of those invaluable nuggets of wisdom that would have been shared if she had 5 more minutes left on our podcast. So welcome back, Shakira, and thank you so much for agreeing to hop on with me today.
thank you, Candace. I'm super excited. I love the concept of like the 5 more minutes because you know how you're always like, okay, I had one more thing to say, but wait a minute, I had two more things to say.
I don't know
And
if
time
Jamila.
just got away.
Yes, yes, it did. Like 20 more minutes more than what we were supposed to be doing. But hey, the spirit was leading. I don't know if
Yeah,
Jamila's on watching, but we release every week the 5 to 10 minute episode, and like
yeah.
I'm not the 5 minute girl at all. Like I have a lot of things to say. I've got point A, B, C, and then I'm gonna seal it with a bonus D, E, F.
Yep,
Um, and
yep.
so when she's editing the podcast, she's always like, okay, we got to make this two parts. I'm like, okay, that's what it was. Um, but no, it was such a powerful episode. I think we were texting each other just a few minutes before we hopped on because after listening to it for I think it was my fifth time listening to it. Every time I was just like, ooh, that was good. I heard something new every time. I was like, that is
I
good.
know.
Woo,
And
wow, that's
when we
another gem.
and I'm sitting here and I'm listening and I'm like, wait a that's so Elijah
All
is
good.
in
No, you're
space.
good. We are women, and we are women. We are parents. Okay, so if you gotta
Parent.
handle that, you have space to handle what you need to handle while we're on live today.
Yes. Yes. So I listened to it again because I listened to it the first day, then I listened to it again, then I'm listening again today, and I'm like, wow. It was just so full. Like I felt like now I can take my book out and write. And as you're sitting here, Candace, and I'm looking at let whatever you do today be enough. It resonated. Like if we were thinking about all of the things that normally tell us that, oh, you didn't do enough of that, oh, you didn't work out long enough, oh, you didn't drink enough water, oh, you didn't sleep long enough.
Yeah.
Those are all the things that tie into us believing we're not enough. So we are over exerting and overcompensating in areas that we don't really need to.
Yes.
And as I was listening to us, I said, wow, it was just so fluid. But I think what resonated with me, and this wasn't even your question, I think,
Yeah,
as
go
I'm
ahead. It
thinking,
actually is
of
the end.
course.
See how much aligned we are? This actually was. I was going to ask you for your reaction and just tell me your perspective about the episode. So you're answering the question. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was thinking, there was a piece where we said, you know, when you cry yourself to sleep, people don't see the moments when you're crying yourself to sleep. And I began to think about like crying. And growing up, when you see little boys cry, their fathers or mothers or people are like, stop crying, toughen up. You know, boys don't cry. You know, and then when a young lady or a girl's crying, it's like, oh, come here, let me console you. So we were taught that tears or that emotion is a bad thing, when really it's an opportunity for us to experience a space of breakthrough, a space of peace, a space of solitude. I knew that my moment, like sometimes I remember at one point I was sitting in a meeting, and at that moment, someone had said something to me, and it literally evoked an emotion, and a hurtful emotion. And all I could do was write in my book. Because at that point, I felt like I had been working long enough. I had been doing a lot. And I was like, gosh, we're giving all that we have, but someone looks at you and says it's not enough. And you're literally like, wait, if this isn't enough, then what is enough? So I wrote in my book, you know, the exact words that they said to me in that moment. But then I paused and I said, Shakira, you determine the story. You determine how you shift that
So
narrative
true.
around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recognize that sometimes we should be the narrators when we actually are becoming the people in the story who become the protagonists or the antagonists, rather. So we are the main characters, and we are allowing ourselves to be antagonized versus being the people that actually are the narrators in that story.
Yes.
So that is important when we think about like how we show up, not just for ourselves but for our families and for everyone that is connected to us. And
Yes.
I think the work that you all do, you know, for 5 Minute Career Hack is important, because most people are talking about how do you get to the next level, how do you get promoted,
Mm-hmm.
but it's inclusive of like, okay, no, we're talking about promotion, but how do you promote self-care and wellness, and how do
Yes.
you show up in the space where you can be whole, because that is a part of being able to show up in a career, and a
Yeah.
career, whether it's entrepreneurship or someone that's a professional that is attached to an employer, that's
Yeah.
just as important.
Absolutely. No, that was so profound. And you already speaking to some notes that I wrote for later on. But I want to expound on what you talked about in terms of the work we do here at 5 Minute Career Hack. And I appreciate you for acknowledging that. And of course, that has been a journey of discovery as well. On, we started off as the career and compensation hacks, and we still do that, right? But we recognize that your whole wellness, like your wellness across all dimensions of your well-being, is the way to keep that going. That the career, the compensation, or the you deciding to make that big pivot to a different industry or to a different into entrepreneurship. But one of the things that I don't know if anybody follows us on Instagram, we were very intentional, probably starting last year, and this is probably our call to action on sharing this even more. But it was the healthy lifestyle. So we were sharing our juicing videos, our smoothie videos,
Yeah.
workout, intentionally recording lives in the gym, because while we're giving advice, to your point, people are feeling like they got to always do more, more, more. And the beauty is just in showing up. So we were like, okay, this is how we need to show up so that we could be that role model to people who needed to see that living a healthy lifestyle is a way to manage that stress, or living a healthy lifestyle is a way to impact your career. It's one of those dimensions, physical fitness, a dimension of well-being, and we got to do that in community with others. And so we serve as the community. So that was so profound that you said that. Thank you for the acknowledgement. And I love what you talked about with the you are enough. Um, you know, to your point, thinking you got to do more. And I'm going to end today with affirmations. I didn't tell you that, but I'm going to throw one in right now. And if anybody's watching, this is for you, Shakira. This is for you. This is for me as well. You are enough right where you are. Or if you're saying it to yourself, I am enough right where I am. And you're gonna do more naturally, right? Like you're gonna do the next thing, but really being able to be present. To our point in the interview, to recognize your value and your worth, which I love what you talked about with worth. To be able to recognize that, that's where you give yourself space to acknowledge your worth, to make sure that you understand that you are enough, and nobody can come in and infiltrate your bubble that you got around you, where you're proud of yourself, or where you realize that you are hurting and you got to do something different. And girl, the crying, I mean, I think I was just on a podcast Sunday, we were talking about crying, and I thought about when you were talking, I was like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Friday, but he said he gonna cry in the car. Excuse me. and I just added a little levity, but that's what comes up when I think about that, because like something traumatic, and like he was being like kind of abused in a moment. He was trying to act all tough and hard, and they like called out he's gonna cry in the car. But on a serious note, I mean, full transparency, there's been many moments where I cried in the car. I've had some of my most just confusing anxiety attacks in the car, on break at work, driving home from work. I used to have a long commute, and I told nobody about it. I did nothing about it. And the worst part though is I thought that something was wrong with me because I was experiencing that. And to your point, it does come from those narratives, which you're going to be surprised at one of my affirmations, those narratives that we learned at a young age, that when you're experiencing abuse sometimes in the workplace, in a toxic workplace, or when you're just not feeling like yourself, or when you're not well, that something is wrong with you. And that was why I wanted to end the podcast that way when we talked, was because I just felt in my spirit like somebody's listening, and they probably even relate to what we're saying, but they're still caught in that, like wearing a superwoman under their skin or Superman under their skin, and they're not doing anything about it. And so I'm on a mission to change that, just so you know.
Hey, and we can do this together, because the one thing I know is there's a space for most women. Like we hide. It's like a hiding space. And there is a moment when you do need to hide. I call it like our incubation season.
Yes.
So there is a moment when you have an incubation season. And then there are moments when you literally are, there's a metamorphosis season. And I think about the butterfly, and I think about the process of it. But then there are moments when we actually we clip our own wings. And we will push ourselves into a different dimension of growth, because we believe it should look like something or someone else. And it should sound like someone else's journey. It should sound like someone else's process. And when it doesn't, we then believe that we are not, again, enough.
Yep.
So we refuse to stay in the process because we're so connected to the finish. And God is literally like, I created a process because the process creates it's not prudence. I think the word I'm looking for, it creates it preserves you. It's a place of preservation.
Right.
Get your
Yep.
words together,
Hey,
Shakira.
it's all good.
So,
That's a big word.
and so yes, I'm like, okay, preservation,
Yes.
preservation. Look, y'all know what I mean.
Yes.
So we're live. So
This
don't
the
try to
the
act
good
like
thing
don't
for
know what
both
it
of us
is.
is this is not a spelling competition or anything like that.
Right.
Like
And I was an ELA
there
teacher.
we're
I'm
not
like,
chasing perfection right
preservation.
now. Yeah,
No,
like hey, we're
preservation. I
modeling
said,
it in the
Shakira, you
moment,
have,
okay?
but there's a space that you come to where you're thinking, like, I want to be preserved. And that space of being preserved requires for you to be encapsulated. It requires for there to be a space where you can come through and be covered and covering, and that's a whole nother story, another another day. But the biggest piece is understanding that in the process there's a preservation, and in that preservation period there's a moment when God is saying, now I can prick your heart, now I can prick your vision, now I can prick your thoughts, now I can bring you closer to me because I have you incubated in a space where no one else can get to you,
Yeah,
and there's not an access point for you.
yeah,
And that is that's sometimes those seasons don't feel good
yeah.
in the beginning.
It's painful.
They don't.
It's
Yeah,
painful.
people, I mean, it's a real thing that people, we are, God knew that when he created the heavens and earth, he said that I don't want you all to be alone. So he created us so that we can be in community with each other. So that's not something that doesn't happen.
Yes.
So, or he doesn't know that this is what we're desiring. And so I just encourage us as we think through like these next things, like this season of our life, there's a season of your life where you will be in an isolation. You will be isolated. But you also have a season where God said, I will illuminate my light and I will put you in the front and I will have you shine in this way because I've created, because you've been persistent in the preservation. You've been persistent. We complain about waiting. And I always ask people, like God would say, like, what's your posture in waiting? Because burnout comes because a lot of times we refuse to wait
Yep.
because we are so connected to an end, we refuse to go through a process to get to the next.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. And then trying to grab control of the steering wheel, right? Trying to grab control of the steering wheel, you running the car off the road because he didn't want you to go that way anyway. We do that in our
Period.
lives. Like we do it in our lives. We do it in our careers, relationships with others. It's, it just shows up everywhere when you don't have the clarity. And you're so right. God created us to be in community with others. And I'm just going to comment, like, I know we just met, about a month ago, right? But I'm just so glad to be in community with you because and this is just also like a display of showing the world what being in community with like-minded people looks like. If you don't
Yeah.
have, and this is to the people who are watching in the live, put some fire in the chat. But if you don't have somebody in your circle that's collaborating with you the way you see Shakira and I exchanging right now, Rachel Rogers says, check your squad. Check your squad because you need to be in community with people that are going to help you grow. Not that they, are perfect or anything like that, but are going towards the same
Right.
direction or have been there before, and they can be that guiding light for you. And, there's nothing, for isolation, to your point, it's necessary sometimes, right? To
Yeah.
go in isolation, but we also, like science will tell us that we're meant to oscillate between isolation, community. Like we have to, it's got to be that oscillation process. But staying isolated for too long, you're going through all these things. You're one of that 73% of women who's experiencing burnout because you're trying to handle it by yourself and keep control of the wheel. And for the lack of a better way to say it, that ain't it. That ain't it. That's not what we
No,
want for you. Like, I'm just gonna keep it
we don't
real.
want that.
That is not it. And that's why I
Yeah.
love being here, having these types of conversations where, this is an opportunity for us to help somebody else unlock. But again, just to show them what being in community looks like. And I've experienced burnout. You shared on an episode that you experienced burnout. So we've been there before. We can relate. We're still learning things about it. It's not a rival point to the healing process of the journey. But we have steps and strategies and tools that can help you get there. So I again, that was so powerful. I know the question was, if Shakira, if you have 5 more minutes to share a nugget, what would that nugget be? And you dropped. This is how we got caught up on the episode the last time, because
I
it's just
know,
the
right?
energy. So we do
We
have
were just like,
we do
okay,
literally
go.
we have about 5 more minutes, right? But outside of what you shared so far, right? If you had 5 more minutes to share one key piece of advice from your episode, or a tip, strategy, a habit, what would you share with the good people that are watching today?
I would share that perfection is overrated. That would be the piece. And I had to check myself, because these are things that we deal with. Even in moments when we don't understand, like, why is this happening? How is this happening? Like, I have a 18-year-old son who's in the background, and I'm like, sir, we already talked about you going to your space. I'm in my space. And in my mind, I would have said, like, stop, pause, let's no,
Yeah.
but giving myself space to realize, like, this is the real moment.
Yes.
Yes, I'm a mother. Yes, we are, entrepreneurs or business women. We have all of these pieces, but the titles don't dictate who we are. It's
Yes.
about the work that you do. And
Absolutely.
oftentimes, perfectionism comes as a cover up versus it being actually your truth. Perfectionism breeds complacency. It breeds, it actually harvests, or actually kind of more so than harvest, it lives in fear, because you're experiencing some level of fear. So in that fear, you're like, okay, I'm going to pause. I want it to be a certain way. I need this to happen that way. So we're beginning to push in, we're beginning to pause versus pushing in. So I recognize that, perfection is overrated, and perfection oftentimes is a way that we hold ourselves in a space where we have unrealistic expectations of ourselves and even those who are connected to us. And so, what does that look like? That then looks like me saying to myself, I have to do more. And it goes back to saying, I'm not doing enough. We're not doing enough. This is not enough. In reality, it is more than enough for what you were doing in that moment. And that's going to be important to recognize as a woman, as a professional, as a human being, as a
Absolutely.
man. Like, when do you clap for yourself? And when do you tell yourself that, okay, you know what? Pause this for this moment so that you can just be present in what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that perfectionism has become almost like the enemy of, we say the good is the enemy of great. Perfectionism is the enemy of complacency. And it
I
becomes
couldn't
that
agree more.
way because we use perfectionism to hold us into a space of saying, oh, well, I'm just such a perfectionist, so I
Yeah.
just want it to be perfect. But when we recognize that that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
perfection doesn't exist.
Right.
Imperfection has to have a way to breed over into something other than where we are. So that is not the case, of where we are standing, that
Yeah.
this world needs us now more than ever to
Yeah.
be who we really are,
Oh,
so that
absolutely.
people can say, you know what, authenticity rocks. We have so
Come
many
on.
people on every platform doing all the other things that we can't allow ourselves to be in a space where we are consistently trying to find a way to be the other when we were called to
Yes.
be the now, like the who. And that's important.
Yeah. No, perfect share. Perfectionism is overrated.
Rated.
Perfectionism is overrated. I think it's such a true statement. I am a recovering perfectionist. um,
Exactly.
and because we all, I mean, that's again another podcast. I think we said that like 4 times in the episode, but
We did.
because for this I'm always in this relentless pursuit of what I thought was
Relentless
perfectionism,
pursuit.
but it was probably just striving for excellence, and then I was running myself in the ground trying to be perfect or not doing things because I didn't think I was going to do it to the perfection that the standard I set, right?
Yeah,
And
the
this
standard.
young,
Yeah.
yeah, this young lady who I talked to in the mornings in one of the groups I'm in, she said something. Her name's Christina. She said, "I'm not a perfectionist. I'm an excellentist," and we were all like, "Stolen." That's us. Like that's us.
Excellence.
We're I'm
Yes.
an excellentist, not a perfectionist, right?
Excellence.
Um, but yeah, it's a very unrealistic expectation to your point, and when you're so focused on it's a control mechanism as well,
Yeah.
and when you're so focused on it, you miss the moment. I can't tell you how many moments I missed in my career, my personal life, because I was so focused on that
Yep.
outcome and not the process. That outcome that I
Yep.
wanted to be perfect. And yeah, that's a good gem to drop. And you're gonna be surprised when I read these affirmations because you and
I
I are
cannot
so.
wait.
I know. I'm so excited. So
I'm
I
like,
know
come
we
on,
do
come on, come on.
we do have to wrap up, but what a profound gem you shared. I expected nothing less. You are a true blessing to all that are privileged to hear you and experience you, and I'm glad I get to be in that number. And I know there was a portion of the episode that was probably one of my favorites, and this is another kind of echo and alignment. So I don't create the graphics that you've seen from the episode.
Oh,
That's somebody else,
okay.
right? And
Somebody. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so when I saw the graphic that said the world needs all your goodness, and that includes speaking up when others are afraid to talk, that was actually like
Yeah.
the first time I listened to it. That was the moment when I was like, okay, let me go sit down because that was so good. And it was another reason I liked that our episode was because there was so much vulnerability that we shared some education, we shared some experiences, personal experiences, and you gave away major hacks that people gotta pay you to come get that stuff, but you were so gracious to share that, right? And it
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
it made me like just kind of recognize that like I'm never gonna stop talking about this. I shared that statistic: 73% of women have reported to have experienced mental exhaustion and burnout. And I'm not gonna stop talking about this because number one, I think the number is larger, and number two, I don't want the number to grow. But when I even think about my journey, I ignored it for so long to your point where it could have killed me. But I shared on
Ah.
the episode, and I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop giving gems from the episode because I actually want you guys to go watch it. But I do want you, if you don't have time right now, I do want anybody on any platform that you're seeing this to hear how I changed the narrative of it almost killed me, but it actually saved my life. To Shakira's point around preservation, I think is what the word is what I'm supposed to be saying.
Yeah.
And you talked about the million of women that still need this help. I'm not going to stop doing this work because there's no way for the four of us, 5 Minute Career Hack and Shakira, to touch all of these millions of women. But I am on a mission to help us. There's different definitions of burnout. The World Health Organization defines it, and they really associate it with workplace. But I'm on a mission to help people personalize their experience and then take action in a strategic way. And to your point, that prick in the heart, when you said prick, I was like, ouch. Like in my mind, just hearing you say the word, I was like, ouch. That's not a good feeling. However,
No,
like to be
no.
pricked is not a good feeling, but it's a part of your process. Okay, so
Yep.
you drop bars. Definitely, if you're
Bars.
watching bars, like that's how I was talking when you were when I was listening to the playback for the fourth and fifth time. But I appreciate you. If you are anybody who's watching this, if you haven't seen the episode, it'll be up forever, so you can go back and watch it. But I actually just want you to do it right now. If you can't get to the episode
Right
right
now.
now,
Go ahead.
right
Put your
now,
AirPods on.
yes, do it
Go.
right now. It's on
Yes.
Spotify. It's on every
Yes.
platform where podcasts stream, so you can go back and listen to it. But if you need to just put the word breakthrough in the comments, we will send you a
Yes.
link personally to watch the episode. So I'm gonna wrap us up with a few affirmations, and I didn't tell Shakira about this, but
Yay.
she covered them yesterday. We were doing a workshop for a group, a women's group, and it was the career wellness workshop that I talked about, Renew. And we in the affirmation portion was probably one of my favorite parts of it. Alicia led it, and so there's so many affirmations in our arsenal regarding this, but particular to our conversation, I want to just share a few as we wrap up. So everybody who's watching, get centered so you can receive it. I'm centering myself so that I can speak it. So here's your affirmations. If you're experiencing burnout, you're not sure what that feeling is about, or you just are trying to figure out how to make sure you prevent it from your life, here's some affirmations for you. So I acknowledge my burnout as a wake-up call, pushing me to rediscover my authentic self. I release the need to please everyone, understanding that self-care is not selfish, but necessary. Burnout is a temporary detour, not the end of my journey. I am capable of rewriting my story. I let go of the fear of failure and embrace the wisdom it brings. I release the need for perfection and embrace the beauty of imperfection. I am worthy of a life that aligns with my values and passions. I am the author of my life, and I choose to write a story filled with self-love, resilience, and fulfillment. So those are the affirmations that I hope resonated with you. You can go back and watch them on a replay. Shakira, I appreciate you so much. We love you
Thank you,
here at 5 Minute
Candice.
Career Hack.
I
I'm
love you
always
all.
yes, yes. I know you hadn't been on camera yet with Jamila and Alicia, but I know they are probably excited to find to eventually
Hey,
get to that
ladies.
space. But thank you again for joining, and I hope that you have a fantastic evening.
Thank you. You too. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you, ladies, again. And like she said, audience, those who are here, you know what you need to do. Thank you. Thank
Reach
you
out to
again,
the
Candice.
5 Minute Career Hack and Shakira Hemphill at
Yeah.
Wow Inc. Everybody have a great day.
Yeah.
Love y'all and be
Great.
well.